Hi, my name is Dr. Felucia, and I'm a licensed psychologist. And today's video, I'm going to be talking about why you cannot afford to fight fair against spiritual abuse. And the reason I'm creating this video is because when people have been in spiritually abusive environments, part of what gets them, I would say, stuck in trying to leave the environment or confront what's going on is that they feel that in order to do so, they have to fight fair, right? And I'm not saying that, that if you're in a situation like this, that you should do things that are that contradict your values or just are underhanded, things like that. I'm not advocating that at all, but what I'm saying is that when people are so focused on fighting fair, it really limits them from taking the actions needed to get themselves out of that environment. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what fighting fair is. The fact that you're even concerned about fighting fair shows a few things. And I think one thing that I would want you to ask yourself if you're wondering, well, is this fair? Do I fight fair? Is that why are you asking that? When people have been subjected to spiritual abuse, there is a very strong and conditioned fear of speaking against authority or doing anything that could be construed as rebellious or rebellious, critical, anything like that. And so people are really, really concerned about doing things in such a way where they get the approval of the spiritually abusive environment, which kind of doesn't, it's contradictory because on one hand, you're trying to change the environment, but on the other hand, you're conditioned to be dependent on the approval of that environment. And so that's why, because the environment is the way it is, you cannot focus on fighting fear. You can't afford to, because think about the people that made the rules for this environment, right? When people, spiritually abusive people in spiritually abusive environments, they create the rules and bend and break the rules all for their favor. And one reason why these environments are so powerful is that they put the comfort and the desires of the abusers over everybody else. And so you're also conditioned to think and behave with those same priorities. So let me give you an example, because I'm sure you're probably thinking at this point, well, okay, if I can't fight fair, if I'm not going to fight fair, like what does not fighting fair look like? And so I'm going to give an example from a podcast that I'd heard a while back about spiritual abuse. And the individual telling their story was saying that they were planning to leave this church, and they had a lot of like expensive equipment at the church that the church was using. It was their equipment, right? And so they knew that the way the church was, because that church was abusive and very controlling, that he was planning to leave. So this guy was planning to leave. If he had said, I'm leaving and I need my stuff back, they wouldn't have given it back to him. They probably would have created some kind of rule about how, even though it was his, it had to stay with them or try to coerce him, all these other things. And they had been trying really hard to get him to agree to something or come to some meeting that he didn't want to go to, because I think they had caught wind that he was leaving. So what he did is he said, look, I just stole back my stuff. And he went to the church late at night, got a van or whatever, and put all his stuff in, and then sent his letter the next day. Or I know he did what he had to do on the back end. And then the final thing was letting them know that he wasn't coming back. And I'm not sure when he did it, but the point is that does not necessarily look like fighting fair, right? But this is what he needed to do in order to get his stuff, because it was very expensive. He was looking for, I think it was switching employment or something. But the point is he needed his stuff. It was his, and he knew that it would not be given back to him. Now, you have to use your own judgment as to how you would address a situation like this. But I'm saying that if he was so concerned about fighting fair, he never would have got his things back. And in fact, that would have probably been used to manipulate and coerce him into doing things he didn't want to do or staying for longer. And so think about it, in some of the videos that I have, I've talked about what spiritually healthy environments look like. So if this was a spiritually healthy environment, this guy would have really not had much of an issue, if at all, of saying, I'm leaving at this date, and so I'm going to need my stuff back, and then let them know, and then arrangements would be made, right? It would be that simple if it was a spiritually healthy environment. However, it's not, right? If you're in a spiritually abusive environment, they're not going to do that. Something else I remember, well, I'd like for you to remember from one of my other videos is that spiritually abusive environments feel entitled to your time and your resources. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, that, you know, anybody who asks for your time and resources is abusive. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that these environments, they feel entitled to it, meaning that they believe it's theirs to use at their disposal with or without your consent or approval or how it affects you. And so in this case, this is a resource of his that they felt entitled to, which is why he, you know, stole his stuff back at night. And so in this case, he was not fighting fair, but he did what he needed to do. And again, the point of this video is you cannot afford to fight fair. Now, I'm not saying that you should act in a way that violates your values or, you know, does things that, you know, deliberately causes harm to people, things like that. That's not what I'm saying. So you need nuance here and you need discernment and understanding what I'm talking about. What I am saying is you cannot focus on, oh, is this fair? Will they like what I said? Will they approve of what I did? Okay, that is not going to help you. When you are dealing with spiritual abuse and when you are working your way out of it, you must prioritize your safety, your health, and your well-being. And again, the environment is not doing for that for you, and they're not going to advocate for you to do that for yourself. And so this is something you need to do. You need to advocate for yourself in doing so. And so that's why you cannot be worried about fighting fair. What you want to be able to do is at the end of what you've done, look back at it and say, I'm okay with doing this. Maybe they didn't like it, but I prioritize my health, safety, and well-being. Okay. So I would love to hear from you in the comment section. You know, what does, have you ever been concerned about fighting fair? And for you, what does not fighting fair look like? Or have you been in a situation before where you did that? So if you're finding this information helpful, please like the video, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps out people that have not seen this kind of content before. Have it be, you know, it will help have it be presented to them on the feed. And it just really also helps our channel out. So if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful day that's filled with peace. Bye-bye.